Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow hosts Kim Ponticello and Johnny Paulus. Kim,
Hey,
welcome
yo.
in.
Thank you.
Are you are vibrant and fantastic despite feeling like complete ass.
Yeah.
We're super glad that you're here. Is that a fair synopsis?
That's a perfect synopsis. That like nails it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How are you doing this week, Kim?
I'm doing really well. I'm really excited for some upcoming games and been having fun playing games, and I've been loving streaming, and I took a couple nights off because I've been icky. But other than that, I'm doing good. I can't complain, honestly.
Wonderful to hear. Johnny Paulus, the people's champion. Welcome in, sir.
Hello, the people's champion.
That's right.
You gotta live up to that now.
You are our listeners' spirit animal, and you always have been.
Okay, that's fair.
So you're the people's champion. You fight back against mean old curmudgeon-y Mike Dawson.
Am I their so if he's their spirit animal, can I be their spirit gremlin or something?
the spirit troll just kind of comes out, sets us straight, and then crawls back under the bridge. Yeah. Johnny, welcome in, sir. How are you this week?
I'm good. Hey, shout out to Kim for deciding to power through here. She was messaging us an hour ago going, I don't think I'm going to sit this one out. And then finally she hit us with a fuck it, I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, I did kind of
low
blows here. I crafted an episode that I don't think either one of you want to miss this week. So
put a game in that I'm very excited. Probably the most excited I've been for a game in a very long time. So
indeed, it's been a fine week for yours truly as well. Things are swimming along. I'm back in the pattern of actually having a life. So that's always pleasant. I definitely want to touch on one thing before we get started. And I think the actual comment trail might have been deleted. Which is fine. You know, people get embarrassed, but I screenshot everything, you fucking scallywags. You can't escape this.
That's the way to do it.
Busted in 4K, bro.
Yeah, so for anyone not aware, now it takes a special skill to be unaware that you have clicked on a video or you have tuned into a program that is more than 5 minutes long. Okay, it's more than 5 minutes. In fact, it usually runs closer to 90 minutes, which I think for a podcast that comes out once a week, that's actually kind of on the light side of things. But we're long format. We're committed to that, and we're not owned by anyone. We're not shills for any of the companies out there. So we kind of rap and talk as it is and at length. So it's really funny for someone. Imagine going into a Burger King, right? And being surprised that they sell fucking cheeseburgers. So
I'm so curious to know where this is going.
Yeah, where is this
when
going?
you click on a podcast and you're surprised that it's a fucking podcast, there might be something wrong with you. So we had a delightful comment from someone this week on YouTube that basically said that within the first 6 minutes they were out. Well, I actually went back and reviewed last week's episode, and we didn't even begin to talk about games in the first 6 minutes. We're 4 minutes and 30 seconds in now. Right. And as per usual, you know, the inmates sort of run the yard the first 10 minutes of the show. Mm-hmm. And we don't really talk about anything that has anything to do with what we're actually here to talk about, because that's kind of how this goes. So I wrote back to this fine fellow, and the story has a happy ending. I write back to him. I'm like, ironically enough, you've pointed out what sets this apart. There's enough people on YouTube catering to people with short attention spans, with clickbait titles, shilling for game companies, and feeding you nonsense. Thanks for taking the time to both listen and comment, though. Perhaps try checking it out on audio platforms where most of our listeners do. That's a fact. Makes for great listening at the gym, in the car, etc.
And they can't see your handsome face, though, Mike.
I know. I digress.
And you too, Johnny. You too.
I was surprised. I always respond, I'm not, I don't shit on people when they leave me nasty grams and stuff on YouTube. Matthew Kerr 4226, you get a special shout out because you realized that you were being a dickhead. And I applaud you for that. You write back, hey, sorry, I don't know why I took the time to leave such a negative comment last night. The internet would be a better place if I had taken a moment to find something positive to say instead of something negative. Sorry face. Matthew Kerr, you went from being an absolute dick dong to saying,
Good word for it.
perhaps,
That was a good word.
one of the most intelligent things I've ever seen left underneath one of our videos. So that firmly puts you back in the green. I hope you don't mind me calling you a dick dong. We would love to have you as a listener, as hundreds of you tune in every
Matthew,
week.
come back.
Baby, I gotta hold on.
There's no chance there's no chance he came
Comment
back.
sucked, but we just can't live without you.
There's no
We can
chance.
live without him.
There's no chance. But he has probably dove through like 100 videos of like girls on skateboards eating rail with their face, because that's what YouTube is for me, at least when I click on YouTube. It's just
That's not my YouTube.
people almost dying doing skateboarding activities. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to your Power Gamer podcast. This is episode 148 of the program. As we mentioned, we do post our videos on YouTube, where if you have the attention span of at least 12 hamsters, you might have made it to this part of the show. And we applaud you. Do consider hitting the like button. Do consider subscribing so that you can come back and enjoy our content once again. Our audio listeners, you continue to knock it out of the park. You're doing your thing. We appreciate it. Keep on doing what you're doing. And consider leaving us a nice review if you haven't already. Perhaps I would much rather come on here and read something where you were just kind from the start rather than a dick dong at first. And I will. So please consider leaving that nice review. We'll give you a shout out.
Matt Kerr,
And you
the
won't be
dick
called a
dong.
dick dong.
No dick dong zone. That's right. Got to stay out of the dong zone. Speaking of bones, Skull and Bones is coming out soon, and many opinions have flown about surrounding this game, dating back for seemingly ever, but mainly I would say last year is when the pot started getting stirred. The game was on the precipice of a release, and we all thought it's finally time for our Assassin's Creed 4 combat simulator to come to fruition. But then, as Ubisoft has done many a times, they pull the rug out from under us, and the internet reacts as the internet does, assuming that we have merely been saved from having to be in the presence of a giant pile of shit game that should have just been canceled. But much to my surprise, understanding kind of how these things work, it wasn't canceled. I thought that was it for it. 10 years in, they've been dumping money into it, and they couldn't make this release date. I thought at that point, this project's cooked. They've realized that nothing they do is going to win people over. It's time to throw that baby out with the bathwater and move on. But they didn't. Ubisoft kept working on it, and now we are about 15 days away from the game actually being released. There's still a loud, seemingly majority of people online that can't seem to shut up about how terrible they think this game's going to be. we have actually been able, thanks to a closed beta where Ubisoft put the game out on a limited capacity, it seemingly like mostly to streamers and media outlets, to check out their game and put it online and let the general masses have a look. And overwhelmingly, I think that people that took the time to stop and look at what was happening all had a fairly ubiquitous response of, this doesn't really quite look as bad as everyone's seeming to say. There's a large vessel of detractors that seemingly can't stop comparing this game to Sea of Thieves, which makes about as much sense as comparing No Man's Sky to Starfield. They have spaceships in common, as these games have pirate ships in common, and that's pretty much about it. So being upset that it's not the thing that you already have doesn't make too much sense to me. However, I have had a dose of optimism since seeing the game in its closed beta, since in these past week and a half, Ubisoft released the full year one roadmap for the game. And it seems like they have a plan in place, that they know what they're doing, and they're slowly turning around the court of public opinion to find some support on this game. So perhaps it's in for one of those long haul runs before it even gets out of the gate. But certainly it seems like, Kim, it seems like it's doing a little bit better than it was doing last year, and is picking up some momentum as we're getting towards the release. Does that sound like a fair observation I'm making here?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you hit on a point that kind of baffles me is the people who are complaining and upset that it's not the same as Sea of Thieves and they're comparing it. Like I've literally seen people in the Skull and Bones Discord complaining that they want hand-to-hand combat, but this is literally a naval combat pirate game. And honestly, if you want hand-to-hand combat, albeit terrible hand-to-hand combat, then go play Sea of Thieves. You know, it's really wild to me. The game looks nothing like it. It's has a more realistic feel to it, obviously. And I have seen some people, I've seen some people come around and say, okay, yeah, I tried the beta and I'm excited to see more of it. You know, I'm going to give it a go during the open beta. And I've seen people who literally have said, I tried the beta and this game is terrible. And I mean, not every game is for every person. You have to want to be into naval combat to enjoy and sailing and mercantilism and all the things that the game encompasses. You have to be interested in all that stuff. But I kind of feel like a lot of the people who are upset by it are the same people who grief people in Sea of Thieves. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
It's like, you know, I'm personally really, I think this is the most excited I've been for a game in a really, really long time.
Yeah, I can certainly say that I always enjoyed, since Black Flag came out, what they were putting down with the ship traversal and naval combat systems that Ubisoft had developed and kept throughout the series. Honestly, I mean, Black Flag, Odyssey, and Valhalla all sort of featured that to some capacity. I'd say Odyssey and Black Flag did it the most. Johnny, I know that you've played those titles as well in the Assassin's Creed franchise.
I have not played Black Flag. I've not played Odyssey.
You just went to Valhalla? He just went to Valhalla. I thought you
No,
played the other ones too.
I beat one, Assassin's Creed 1. I played 15, 20 hours of 2.
Well, I mean the ones with ship combat. We don't need to hash through the other 50
No
titles.
ship combat. So and that's what I was going to say is like I'm looking at from the outside in. I've never played one of these Assassin's Creed games with ship combat, so I have no experience with what it is. That being said, I signed up recently for an Ubisoft subscription. I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting my value out of it, as we'll talk about later. I've been blasting through some Ubisoft games, but Skull and Bones will be included in that subscription, so doesn't cost me anything to fire it up. And so yeah, I mean, I'm not like, oh my god, I can't wait to play this game. I come from the outside going, I don't know if I really want to play a ship combat game, but I've never played any of the ship combat Assassin's Creed games. So because Valhalla, you rode in a little canoe, but there's no like ship combat.
Very light on it comparatively from Odyssey and Black Flag. One of the things that I find interesting with this is that a lot of folks, media and general public alike, seem to have really dug their heels in on there not being any possibility of anyone being able to enjoy this game when it comes out.
Yeah.
And it's a little confusing, especially of late. I was certainly part of the bandwagon that, particularly when the delay happened last year, because around that time too, they announced pricing for it, and then showed us some snippets, and everything about it just was not looking good. It was looking far too expensive for what it was. It was looking very Ubisoftified of the days of old, where there was way too much storefront involved, way too much monetization shown. And then on top of that, they had versions of the game that went well past the $100 mark. I think the highest edition was like $120 at the time. And they just got slagged. But what's interesting is that never actually happened. It didn't come out that way. It's not even come out yet. But there is like definitely this thing with Ubisoft that when people even think that Ubisoft is about to make a misstep, here they come, unlike anything else in game. I mean, seriously. And I know that they were sort of the poster child for bad monetization practices way back in the day. But nobody seems to pay attention to, where things have been since then. I've been talking about playing and completing Avatar lately. The storefront for that, you really have to go looking for it. And I've noticed that in the past few Ubisoft games that I've played, Far Cry series as well, that they've really kind of gotten that shit out of your face and are doing better than a lot of their competitors. So, Kim, I know that you've got a lot of experience with Ubisoft titles. Is there any logic behind why it seems that people seem more apt to dig their heels in when it comes to Ubisoft than maybe some of the other publishers?
I mean, personally, I don't think it's necessarily that they do. I think you have groups of people who hate Ubisoft. You have groups of people who hate Blizzard. You have groups of people who just hate certain aspects of games. And it's people who hate EA because EA is known for money, And so, and I think the part that really confuses me a lot is I can kind of understand, because not everybody's going to like everything. And there are always going to be people who dislike this or dislike that, or whatever the case may be. What I don't understand is this desire to make everybody else hate them too. And it's the same thing with like games, I've seen it with like so many games. I had people telling me, like, confused at why I like trying to convince me not to like Skull and Bones, and trying to convince me not to like other games I've played. And I'm like, well, why are you trying to convince me of this? I like this game. This is so weird. What are you doing? And it's happening with Palworld even. People who say they don't like Palworld and people who love Palworld are like bashing them for not liking the game. And it's like, that's gaming. Not every game is for everyone, and not every game everybody's going to love. So I don't know why. I feel like people who dislike companies tend to dig their heels in no matter what company it is. There's just haters, but I think Ubisoft just has a really, I think because it's one of the, this is what I think it is, okay? This is a hot take. I think because Ubisoft is known for coming out with some questionable games, right, in terms of quality. And so it's easier for people to dig in and say, I hate this company, when really what it is that they don't like the games. Because if it was the company they didn't like and how the company is run, then they wouldn't like Blizzard, they wouldn't like EA, they wouldn't like half the big game development companies out there, because there is dirt under every pile. So I think it's just easier for people to dislike Ubisoft because Ubisoft's come out with a lot of games, and for some reason people can't just say, wow, that's a horrible game for me. I don't like that game. Instead, they want to just like, oh, and they want everybody to, misery loves company, I guess, is a good way to put
Sure.
it, you know?
Yeah. I started noticing it around the time that I would say it's like when Assassin's Creed 3 came out, and it was kind of a step back for that series. And then we just got pounded with the annualized releases still, and they were bad for a while, all the way up until I would say Assassin's Creed Origins really was when they kind of stepped back, rethought the series, and relaunched it in a different way. So, it was like this long period from like the mid 10s up until about 2017, where it's like nothing they could do, it seems, could be right with anyone. And yeah, a lot of it came from up top. They had that moment of solace with Assassin's Creed 4, where like, oh, maybe it's back. But then, just after that, just here and there, Watch Dogs came out. It didn't do as well as they thought, and a lot of the stuff they showed in the trailers and things when that game came out wasn't really how it was in the game, and very heavily monetized and things. And yeah, the constant annualized releases, Just Dance, Watch Dogs, Far Cry, and like that's kind of what they're known for. So when they get on these cold streaks, it's just perpetualized. But what I think is kind of interesting, and I was taking a look at this as I was kind of formulating this topic, was it's been a long time since that was the case with them. Really, if you kind of go from 2017 forward, that would be when Assassin's Creed Origins came out. Then you had Far Cry 5, the latest crew game for racing folks, and that's actually done very well in comparison for being up against Horizon. Since then, it's really kind of just been a string of wins for them, but they can't shake this stigma.
Mm-hmm.
They can't seem to shake it. So
I mean, there are people who told me, like, when I've told them how good the new Prince of Persia game is, they literally just won't even bother to play it because they're like, well, it's an Ubisoft game, it can't be that good. And I'm like, are you?
Yeah, from
What do you mean?
from some people that I trust dearly when it comes to their opinions, they've said it's one of the best Metroidvania games they've ever played.
It's really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to get in on that. But
and sales have been abysmal on that game, by the way. It hasn't even broken 500,000.
That sounds right for Metroidvania, though.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but
yeah, and it's priced high, so
I don't disagree.
and people like younger generations who didn't know the original Prince of Persia were very bent about the fact that it was a Metroidvania.
Yeah,
that it was a side scroller instead of what they knew Prince of Persia to be.
Yeah, well, and it's like Metroid Dread, which was fantastic and got praise as being fantastic. It didn't sell that great by the Nintendo scale, at least. So I guess, Johnny, I'm going to throw it back to you. I've got a little bit of a setup. It's kind of the same question, though, is do you notice what I'm saying when it comes to Ubisoft? Do you agree with that? How do you view all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the money. I think it's I'm going to make a Marvel connection. I think it's similar to the MCU. I mean, it's like the MCU has a couple misses, and now every trailer for every movie, there's thousands of comments going, Marvel's dead, fuck Marvel, this is going to be dog shit. But like, as soon as they release a movie that blows people's minds, everybody is going to be excited about Marvel again. And I think that Ubisoft just need to get a couple more W's under their belt, because I mean, I was on the side of that. Like, you know, the next Ghost Recon came out and I got the beta and was like, well, this is ass. And like, there were so many of those games that like,
It was bad.
I saw the trailer, thought it was going to be cool, fired it up. I mean, what was it? The Wildlands, Ghost Recon Wildlands. Oh my God. I mean, dude,
Wildlands
I was like,
okay. Breakpoint was, oh my goodness, terrible.
yeah, and you know, honestly, what's funny is I have a bone to pick with Ubisoft, and it's a really minor one, and it's something that they could very easily fix. But now that I have this new subscription, and Ubisoft is charging money for a subscription, they should just go back and just do tiny little updates to these old games. Because Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, you can't play it. I could not get it at 2560 1440 resolution. I had to play it in a square. I couldn't get it to work with my controller. I did some Googling and it's like, well, if you install this program and do this, and I'm like, I'm not doing all that bullshit. So I played the game with a mouse and keyboard. But the thing that annoys me about that is like, you could take one little propeller head and go, hey, here's $1,000. Can you take the source code for Sands of Time and fix this? And they'd be like, yep, give me 3 days. There you go. It's all fixed. But they don't. And they go, here's our subscription. Look at our amazing titles of games that you can play on your PC, and then they install and they work, but like gotta kind of fuck with them to get them to like work properly, and it's you know, that annoys me. But you're right. I mean, Ubisoft has been crushing with the Far Cry games. The Avatar game is awesome. The new Prince of Persia. I mean, if this Skull and Bones is a home run, like you guys think it's going to be,
I didn't say that.
Okay,
just to be clear,
I did. I did.
Okay,
I didn't
sorry,
say
I lumped you in there. But yeah, I mean, I again, I'm not really the target audience for Skull and Bones, but it is this weird hatred for Ubisoft that I don't feel that same amount of vitriol when it's Blizzard or when it's Rockstar or when it's BioWare.
You see it, and sometimes it gets as hot.
Sure,
but it seems like it passes,
right?
When they really haven't done anywhere near as much as Ubisoft has been trying to do,
right,
to get goodwill back.
Yeah,
they
I
seem
think
like
one
in
of
this
the
constant
reasons
struggle.
I think one of the reasons why Blizzard always dies down is because, I mean, WoW, right? Isn't that Blizzard?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a big deal. People keep going back to Blizzard. And so even when something terrible happens with the company themselves, and all this stuff comes out about what a terrible place it is and harassment and all that stuff, people don't want to stop playing WoW. And so it's easier to like Ubisoft really doesn't have anything like that,
right,
where people can kind of like turn the other cheek and say, well, you know, I do have this game, you know what I mean? It's
right.
And so I think that's why Blizzard kind of always, everybody kind of like puts on their blinders, you know, when Blizzard does really terrible shit like Overwatch 2, which was really Overwatch 1, and they shouldn't have made a second one, and then they said they're not going to do PvE, even though that was what Overwatch 2 was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But, and then all of a sudden people put their blinders on because, you know, oh, but, you know, what do you mean? I have WoW, you know? And so I think Ubisoft is kind of like, it's easier to be that way with Ubisoft because.
Right. Well, so
know.
the other sort of hot take I have, and this kind of touches on this weird place where on the internet, this isn't the first time we've talked about this, where people hate on a thing that doesn't exist yet. Like a game that's not out, and there's just drones of people talking about how dog shit that game is going to be.
Like they're
and
experts,
a movie trailer comes out, and thousands of comments about how god awful this movie's going to look. If the game comes out and the game is dog shit, or at least you think it's dog shit, you could say it's dog shit. But until it exists, like, calm down a little bit. If you're not excited, fine. But like, what I think's happened is the fanboyism, the Ford v Chevy, the PlayStation versus Xbox, I think there's a little bit of that where there's people that are Camp Rockstar, and they're going to be excited about anything Rockstar Games does. But as the moment they see something Ubisoft, they're like, "No, fuck you, fuck Ubisoft, fuck that game. The game's gonna be dog." I should go on and comment on every video talking about this game, and I feel like it started with Trump. I know that sounds crazy, but the first time I remember a game getting absolutely dogged was Mass Effect Armageddon, and that was 2016. That was right when the whole Trump bullshit was happening. That was the first game where, like,
quick correction,
it came out.
Andromeda. Continue.
Andromeda.
Sorry, Andromeda. You're right. Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mass Effect, starring Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck.
You think it's gonna be? You think it's gonna be amazing,
hold on.
but it's a love story.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hold on before I get derailed. So, but it was like that game came out, and like it was a little buggy, and like there was some facial animations that needed work.
That's
And
right.
like
It was very BioWare. I'm
some,
just saying.
it was very BioWare.
It was very
But what
BioWare.
happened was the whole internet went, "Oh, it's dog shit. Throw it in the trash." And the whole fucking world decided that this game is awful. And by the way, Mike, who's like the biggest Mass Effect stan ever, went back and played them all and has said that that game is incredible.
It's my second favorite Mass Effect game. Yeah.
That means
played
a
all the
lot
Mass
from a
Effect
Mass
games,
Effect
too.
fan.
I played all the Mass Effect games, and I haven't gone back to play them all. I want to. They're in my bowl, I think. But I played through Andromeda, and I was like, was it a perfect game? It was very BioWare. I don't know what people were expecting, and I didn't think it was. I was like, why did people hate this game so much? I didn't understand.
There just seems to be this new thing that's just become a part of the internet where people hate something before it exists, and I don't get it.
Yeah,
You know, there can be a movie that I'm excited about. I hear about it and I see the trailer and go, "Nah, it doesn't look very good." But that doesn't mean I write it off completely and say the movie's going to be terrible. You know, I'll go read the reviews and like, oh shit, people are like saying this is pretty good. Maybe I do want to go check this out. And you're like, oh, it was a bad trailer, or it was a bad day one patch. A week in, they fixed all that shit. But in the court of public opinion, you get that one miss, and if enough people flip the on to off switch, they don't give a fuck. You couldn't say anything to them to change their mind.
I think the other thing too, and this comes with gaming, and it's right along that thought process: gaming, movies, everything. I feel like, and this is literally in the world too, the whole like, I feel like there used to be this nice spectrum of, wow, that is utter dog shit, and then somebody saying, wow, this is glorious, right? So now instead of there being this like spectrum, it literally goes blank space, right? And so there's like no like good example. I just watched Army of the Dead, right? It was not a good movie. It wasn't a good movie. Was it entertaining? My fucking God, yes, it was so entertaining. But it was a bad movie, but it was really entertaining. It was fun.
Agreed.
And I think that's where people can't, there aren't enough people who can do that anymore. It's either dog shit or it's amazing. And if it's not amazing, then it's dog shit. And it's like, well, what about that area of, no, Zack Snyder, it's the script was stupid, the writing was horrible, but goddamn, I had a fun time watching it.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's happening with games as well. You know, if something's not a knock it out of the park, you know, Andromeda, was it perfect? No. Was it the most amazing Mass Effect game? No. Did I have fun playing it? Was it entertaining? Yeah.
Yeah.
The title in my show notes that I wrote for this segment was called Dead on Arrival. Because kind of the common thread here, there's another game that's coming that's kind of suffering from this as well, is that public opinion will decide before it even has a chance to actually experience the game or play it, or read a review or really anything, for abstract reasons decide that it's terrible before they ever get it. I mean, imagine a child that, you know, with an American child's taste buds, sees a plate of
You mean
some
you?
weird looking Indian food. And goes, ew, that's gross. And no one ever stops telling him, that shit's fucking delicious, kid.
That shit's fire, bro.
They could go their whole life just saying, oh, Indian food's disgusting. And like that, it's that level of maturity that I recognize when it comes to these things. Do I think Skull and Bones is like the next game of the year contender? Do I think Skull and Bones is going to blow the barn doors off the gaming community? And no, I don't think that.
Right.
But there's a big difference from being an unplayable pile of shit.
Yeah.
And being a game that's, maybe it's not for you, but maybe you can still realize that, oh, okay, I can see why other people like this.
Right.
Like Army of the Dead. Oh, I can see why other people like this, okay. Zombie revival movies aren't really my cup of tea, like naval combat's not my cup of tea. But it's just very strange, and I think a lot of it kind of ties in, at least in this game's case, to that Ubisoft connection. It seems like anything they do always comes out on the bad side of the wash in the court of public opinion.
And I feel like people want to hate it
So badly.
Yeah,
100%.
so badly. They want to hate it.
And I think the other side of that statement too is they want to hate it, and they expect it to fail. And even if it comes out and does well, it's going to be like this, and nope, it's still terrible.
Those blinders, I know.
So another game that I've kind of recognized is kind of following almost an identical path through its pre-release cycle has been Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. A game that was supposed to be out last year, got canceled into this year. It was shown, I believe it was at a State of Play, and it wasn't received very well. So it got pushed off here into 2024. Really, I mean, in that time, not much in the game fundamentally is going to have had changed in that period. The game was basically done and ready to come out. So you can tweak it, you can shine it, but you're not fundamentally changing the game in that period of time. So it really hasn't, whatever it was then, hasn't changed much until now. But they're following the same path. They're getting the game into the hands of streamers, both large and small. They ran a closed beta. And the game is actually out in an hour from now? Us having this conversation?
No, the game's out already.
It's out on early access.
It's out on
PC. If you bought
PC.
it right the second, you could play it.
Let's see. Yeah, the full release is tomorrow. So it's going to be in everyone's hands here soon. IGN has a review in progress of it that I thought was interesting. But certainly kind of here at the last minute, at the buzzer, some viewpoints on this have been changing, including my own. We have a mutual friend that streams, we've talked about here on the show before. The man who famously navigated Spider Cube through the mean streets of New York City. Revealing too much, you can check him out on Twitch. Has been streaming the hell out of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And I probably watched a good 4 hours of it. And the show's got some self-reflection going on, guys. Because it still looks like Crackdown, okay?
You're not wrong.
But it looks good. The cinematics and things in it, those hands down look wonderful. Some of the gameplay, it looks kind of loopy. That it's not perfect by any measure, but it's certainly also not a steaming pile of dog shit, which is the impression that I had. I kind of fell into that trap again. It's so easy to fall into that trap. But then you stop and you look and, you try and take the goggles off, whatever shade they are. And so Johnny, I've been watching some of that game, and I've got to say that I'm a lot more impressed with it than I thought it would be. So you've obviously cleared embargo from the closed beta period. We've talked about it a little bit here on show.
Yep.
But do you kind of notice this same shift that I'm starting to see with this, that maybe it's a bit better than we were anticipating?
Yeah, no, that shift happened for me like 5 minutes into the closed beta. Another friend of the channel, Do, him and I both got an invite. We both signed up, and then I was like, we should do like a co-op. Let's do a co-op thing and run through it. And we had 2 nights together playing the game, and we did all that the demo had to offer. We got it to the point of thanks for playing. And man, like every 15 minutes or so, Dude and I would go, this is pretty fucking cool, right? Like, yeah, no, this is like, I'm really impressed so far. I mean, it is just a demo, right? Yeah, that's true. It's just a demo. And then we keep going, and we're still having fun, and we're still kicking ass, and we're like, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be, right? Well, yeah, this is fucking cool. And like, I mean, dude, we had a blast with it. And I can't think of that many online co-op titles that go with the hero shooter route. You know, like Overwatch is fun because one person is going to play Reaper and have a fucking blast at teleporting behind the enemy lines and getting off that big ult, or somebody else is going to be really good at Tracer and jumping in and doing that. And so in this game, the characters do play drastically different. Although you're shooting guns, if you're Deadshot and you can jetpack up in the air, freeze time, and fucking pull out your sniper rifle and headshot, that's a whole lot different than King Shark coming in and stomping him with his big attack and doing that whole thing. So it is sort of like that Overwatchy kind of vibe where everybody has their own traversal. Like, everyone gets around the maps differently. You'll all get to the same place, but you're not really like side by side. One person's sort of climbing buildings, another one's flying around. And similar to Skull and Bones, they have a roadmap for this game. They've already announced that Joker is going to be a playable character as
He looks
free
terrible.
DLC.
It does.
He looks so bad.
I think he
He's
looks
like-
cool.
He's
I like to take
E-boy. He's like an E-boy.
Oh, it makes sense though. I think it's a cool take on the Joker character. I was actually
God.
really that's the thing I love about Joker though, is Joker can be played any myriad of different ways. Every single reimagining of Joker has been completely different. And the thing I liked about what they did in this game is it reminds me of the original Batman TV show, where he's a little too campy, he's a little too smooth, but I thought it was kind of a cool little twist. We'll see. I know a lot. The internet's hating on it, but that's the thing is like
hideous.
exactly what we were talking about. I'm starting to see the public opinion shift. Some of the reviews are starting to come out. Some people are starting to say, I actually read a review yesterday. They were like, this was surprisingly good. I think they gave it a 4 out of 5. Really, the big question everyone's asking, and this is the same with any game as a service, is what is the end game? Is there going to be something that we continue to play, something that keeps us coming back? Or is it going to be Avengers again, where you have fun playing through the campaign, you level up a couple characters, and then it's like, cool, so it's just 100 hours of beating up robots. Got it. So we've done everything we could do here. But as the public opinion shifts and these websites are starting to say, and streamers are having fun playing it, you look at any tweet about the game, any TikTok about the game, the comments are taking an L. This game's gonna suck. This game's gonna be terrible. This game's gonna be awful.
It's like, who even are
Bitch,
these
you
people?
haven't fucking played it yet. Shut the fuck up. You haven't played the fucking game. Seriously, shut the fuck up until you play it. Enough, man. I'm so frustrated with this shit. It drives me fucking crazy. Just hundreds of comments on how terrible the game's gonna be, but you haven't fucking played it.
I can't tell how you feel. Do you want to express yourself a little bit? Or?
Oh, it drives me nuts.
I have to say, this is one of those moments where, like we were talking about, being able to look at a game and say, this game is not for me, but I can appreciate it for what it is. I have I have quite literally zero interest in playing the game. Like not an ounce of interest playing it. But I've been watching RTM play it, and there are some aspects that I can look at and say, wow, this looks like somebody could have a lot of fun with this. There are other aspects I look at and I go, wow, that combat looks really clunky and not so good. But I could see why people would have a lot of fun with it. And I think that it goes right back to that. Like people want to hate it. They want to hate it. They want it to fail. People who got burnt by Avengers want it to fail. They want it. People are mad that it's not like Avengers. Like I was watching people play it, and there are literally people who were like, well, it's nothing like Avengers. And it's like, but you played Avengers. Why do you want another Avengers?
Right.
Like, why can't you like appreciate this and have fun with this for what it is? It's like, but they're mad and they're upset with Avengers, and so they want Suicide Squad to fail. And it's like, but why? You're like cutting off your nose to spite your face. If you're going to hate on the game before you even play it, if you're not going to give it an opportunity, if you want it to fail, you're like, what good is that doing? It's like, it's such a, I can't even understand that mindset. I don't even get it. I have no interest in playing it, but I want people to enjoy it. And I like watching people play it. And it looks, it's a game I can look at and say, yeah, this looks like people could have fun with it. I don't see why that's so hard to do.
Rocksteady has yet to miss, really. I mean, in my opinion, every game they make was great. I can't think of was there ever a bad Rocksteady game?
I don't know that I've played any
not since not
it's the Arkham games.
Not
They've done
the Arkham
all
series.
of the Arkham games.
I've never played what they're quite literally games I've never had interest in playing.
Oh
but
my
I watched
God,
I think
so
I
much
watched
fun.
through I watched all of the Batman games be played.
The Arkham games are so much fun to play.
Yeah, they look very samey to me. So I was like the combat is like pow 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 pow
The
pow.
combat
pow.
is actually really fun because it's kind of rhythmically based. It's actually one of my favorite combat systems.
Yeah, I had no interest in playing it, but again, yeah. I was watching it saying I can understand why people who would be into this style would really like it. You know, but I feel like people want Kill the Justice League to fail.
But I think too that a lot of people want Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to be Batman Arkham Asylum. Mm-hmm. Which is, I mean, of that generation, the, late PS3, 360, early PS4 generation, that is one of the best games from that era.
It's the best until Spider-Man came out on PlayStation 4. Agreed. It was the best superhero game.
Definitely. And I mean, they got so many things right that you just can't do in a game like Suicide Squad. Well, not all of it actually, but some of it they are doing. But like the stealth, that really just razor tight, or razor sharp, razor tight. Who has a tight razor?
Somebody might.
Yo, that razor is tight.
That razor's tight.
Melee combat in that game is just so good. It's so
It
good.
is. It is.
But you obviously can't do those things in a game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which looks more like Rocksteady making Crackdown with Harley Quinn. One of the main things that's drawn me into this, two things actually. The cutscenes and the storytelling in this game are fantastic looking. And
they look beautiful.
I just want
insanely good.
I just want to go through beautiful. The seemingly only 12-hour long campaign, which I'm all about games of that length.
It took RTM 14 hours, I think, total.
While streaming, yeah. So,
yeah.
I want to play through the story of the game. I'm totally not interested in doing in-game stuff in games like this. I don't have the capacity to deal with that. But I'm really interested in the story. All the cutscenes I watched were fantastic. They've got that magic carrying over from the Arkham series, where the game is going to get beat up, probably by me. Is going to be it's going to be in gameplay. But graphically, this is one of the best looking games so far in this generation. So there's a lot of back and forth with it. It's too much to just write it off as dog shit. Is kind of where I'm going with this.
Yep.
I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I was actually talking to RTM about it, and when you look at a game like this as compared to, in terms of longevity, and compared to something like Fortnite. So Fortnite, they can do anything they want, design the landscape any way they want. For goodness sake, I'm playing Gojo and my friend's playing Peter Griffin. And then I switch over to Alan Wake. You know what I mean? So they can do anything. Whereas you have a game like this with a player base that is really picky. I mean, really picky. Yep. And so they can't just go fantastical and do things that are completely outrageous because that's not part of the, that's not how it goes. Right. And so, like, I'm curious to see where it goes and how long it can possibly go on for, because you kind of are in this, like, albeit a big box, but you kind of are in a box, and so I'm curious to kind of see where it goes,
Yeah, there was a video that was going all over TikTok from the Suicide Squad game where I'm not going to spoil it because it does appear to be somewhere in the middle of the game, but King Shark has like a funny moment, a funny kind of cool moment, and all the comments were like, well, "That's not how it works in the comics. This, and I'm like, just stop. It's so ridiculous.
And that's what's so hard, because the player base keeps these games in a box. Because
the
they're
nerd bubble is killing so much.
Because they're so picky and they're so, this is the way it's supposed to be, not like that. And so that ends up kind of like limiting where they can go and what they can do with a game like this,
The DC crowd is very like that too. So, there's no conclusion really to either one of these games that we're talking about. It's wait and see on both of them, honestly.
Time will tell.
But I do. The point of this is, if you have found yourself in one of those camps where you're just fervently hating either of these two games, simply this whole conversation was just to make this one statement, which is just kind of stop and ask yourself, well, why do you feel that way? What was it that happened that led you to believe that either one of these is just the worst thing ever?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt you?
Destined to be dog shit.
Because, like I said, I was kind of falling into that with Suicide Squad, but I do also have a long history of 180ing opinions, because I tend to keep a fairly open mind and try to call things how I see it. And friends streaming the game, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna sit and watch it, and I'm really going to pay attention after doing that for a few hours. So I urge you perhaps to do the same, particularly in these cases, if you like naval combat, or you liked Black Flag, or if you like the DC universe or comic games in general, or you were a Crackdown fan back in the day like I was.
Or if you got a group of friends that you play online with, this would be, if you me in like my 20s when I had 3-4 buddies that we'd fucking play through, Call of Duty every night, this would be a hell of a fun game to like just get on and keep leveling up and get more cool shit. I think the co-op, if people are on it to support the service, I don't know. We'll see.
Very good. Time for my favorite part of each week's episode. This is the part of the show where I inform you that I'm still playing Final Fantasy VII and I played Star Citizen. Kim.
Yes.
What have you been playing this week?
Mine's really easy. I didn't play anything. Well, I played one new thing, but I've been playing some Palworld. There are issues with dedicated servers, though. They're overloaded. These companies can't keep up with them, and so it's been really laggy, so I kind of put that on hold a little bit. Server's still up, people still go on, but we're all kind of like, fix your servers. I've been playing Professor Layton, or as I call him, Daddy Layton. Been playing that game, and I literally end that game and I feel like I need to close my eyes, and I feel like I need to take my brain out and just like wring it out and massage it a little bit and put it back in, because I have never done so many puzzles in the course of one night as in Professor Layton. Plus I'm like voicing all the characters, and like but it's fun. I don't want to stop. It's like, I don't know if I'm a
What's
masochist or
the little
what.
boy's voice?
Luke, Professor Layton, I think we have to go that way. Fucking hate him. I hate him. He's so obnoxious. I mean, I am too. That's why I know he's obnoxious. But yeah, that's Luke's voice. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. I played Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
This game looks so
I was
good.
given Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, and it's very different style. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion was very like you go all over the place and you're doing this story. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank is literally get better, go back into the bank. Get better, go back into the bank. Get better, go further into the bank. Get better, go back into the bank, right? And so it's almost like this roguelite, right? Where you're going back and forth, and you're literally just in this bank. But then you go through a door in the bank and you're in like this like outdoor area with like this camping group who hates the people who are fake campers. It is bizarre and it's fun. The fact that you can find a fish on the ground and start beating the shit out of fish, it's been a lot of fun, and I highly, highly recommend it. The first game was absolutely brilliant too, so I highly recommend
Turnip
it.
Boy Robs a Bank is Hotline Miami as a turnip. For
What?
Yes.
I have to play this game.
Yes.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's Hotline Miami, but you're turnip.
It's a good game.
Oh my god,
You're Turnip Boy,
It's a good game.
and it's fucking
I
nuts.
love Highline Miami. That's all.
And everybody you're running into is some sort of like vegetable or like, I mean, the security, like if the timer goes off and you don't get to your van in time, the security is literally like strips of bacon.
Yeah. It is
brilliant.
Hotline Miami, Johnny.
It's
I
so
have to
good.
play it.
It's so good. I'm still
pull
playing
up the
through
video
Fractured
now.
Butthole.
I watched so much of that stream today you were doing of that.
Oh my gosh. I am disgusted with myself with how much I'm loving this game. I cannot express. Granted, I did like the only reason I like the first one better, the only reason I like Stick of Truth more is because the combat was simpler, and so it let you get back to the story and back to all the silly stuff. The combat is you really have to think about the combat in Fractured Butthole. But it's absolutely fantastic. I love this game, and it's offensive and horrible, and I literally like put my head in my hands and think to myself, am I a bad person for laughing at this? But I think that's South Park as a whole.
It's Gen X.
You know what I
humor.
mean?
That's what it is.
It's just so good. It's just so good. And then I've also been playing Warframe because I'm back on the Warframe front. And I literally tonight I even said, I'm like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna go on the podcast. I feel like shit. I feel terrible. I'm just gonna get on Warframe and I'm gonna farm. That was my plan for tonight. Because I've just been having so much fun getting back into it. If anybody's looking for like a farming, I don't mean farming like get your hoe. I mean like a game, I hate calling it grinding, but a game where you're like, you know, battle like nonstop. I guess the best thing to compare it to is like if you're into Destiny, right? But you don't want something that's as samey as Destiny, and you want something that has frames that you can build and modify. And I mean, I can't describe how amazing Warframe is. And the community is literally one of the best communities in any multiplayer game I've ever played. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, like I post things on TikTok and on YouTube and on Instagram, and I always get somebody who's like, welcome back, Tenno, because you're known as a Tenno. Welcome back, Tenno. Like everybody is so welcoming and so excited to see people playing Warframe. And I get people coming into stream who've been playing it, I mean, like 2,000, 3,000 hours. And they come into a stream to watch somebody who's like just really getting started because they just enjoy it that much that they want to see somebody enjoy it the way they do. And that's amazing to me. And so it's been really, really fun getting back into it. My buddy Fred Rock is on the QA team for Warframe. And so it's been so nice. Like he's super excited that I got back into it because I left it because I was introduced to it in a very poor way that made me not want to play it anymore. And so he loves the game and he takes a lot of pride in the game. And so he's very excited to see me back in it again and seeing how much I enjoy it. And yeah, I highly recommend if you're looking for, it's a free game. It's a free game and you literally don't have to spend a dime. You do not have to. Can you spend money? Absolutely. You do not have to. Not ever. I've never spent a dime on that game. I have friends who have played for 500 hours, 800 hours, and have never spent a dime on it. And it's beautiful too, by the way.
And it's not
So, yeah.
Destiny right now, which isn't in a great spot. So probably a good time to go check it out until whatever that next Destiny expansion is called. I don't know. I can't play that game. I did
Same.
3,500 hours in Destiny 1. I can't ever go back.
I did 1,800 or 1,600 in Destiny 1 or something like that.
I've banned
And
myself from it.
When the second one got announced, I remember they announced it and they were like, we took inspiration from WoW and inspiration from blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, maybe this will be the game I was looking for, because I used to play a game called Defiance. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. But
Oh, yes.
I loved that game because it was true open world. You could talk to everybody, right, on the mic. And I was like, maybe Destiny 2 is going to be that, because they were like open world and NPCs on every planet. And it was literally Destiny 1 reskinned.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very upset. So yeah, I can't go back to it.
Johnny, you've been a busy man. What are you playing?
I've been a very busy man. So I continue my death march through the Prince of Persia series. I'm playing them in chronological order. So I beat the 2008 reboot, and I have now beaten Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. I already complained about the fact that I couldn't use a controller. I already complained about the fact that I couldn't play it widescreen. There was also the issue of any of the cinematics that wasn't a video, the audio and the characters wouldn't line up. So, like, I'd see something dramatic happen, and then 4 seconds later, I'd hear the audio of their voice. All of that being said, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time still slaps real fucking hard. This game's great. As much as I was cussing out the janky combat, I'm still going to give this game an 8.5, which means in 2003, it's probably a 9.5. What are you snickering about?
Just that you shat on it for 2 minutes straight and then said, "Oh yeah, but it's great. It's an 8.5." Just
we talked about this last week,
Johnny.
didn't we?
Well, no, I'm bringing up current 2024 concerns. Who the fuck isn't aware of Sands of Time? It's a classic timeless
Plenty
game.
of people aren't, man. Not a well, actually, yes, a fraction of people that own video game systems now own video game systems back then. So,
well, I would say in that case, if you have not played Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, wait for the remake, because
that was canceled.
Yeah, it's officially canceled.
Yeah, it's out of development right now. So,
Really?
yeah.
No.
Why do they got to take all these things
So
I care
last
about?
year,
Knights of the Old Republic remake canceled. Fucking.
This is why we can't have
no,
nice
it's
things.
because they
I know.
overinvested in the COVID bubble and the bubble's bursting. That's why all these layoffs are happening right now.
Right.
It's delayed indefinitely, and it was supposed to come out like a week after that happened. That tells me that thing's gone.
Wow. Anyway, it's still a classic timeless game. The parkour in it is great. The combat was way ahead of its time. The rewinding backwards after making a mistake or after injuring yourself. There's a lot of things in that game. Even like the swinging on a rope and then choosing your direction. And like, I think Tomb Raider did it first, but I think Sands of Time did it better.
Yes.
There's a lot of really tight things in this game, and it still holds up. And yeah, Sands of Time's awesome, and I'm enjoying my playthroughs.
I can't wait, because what's next for you, Warrior Within?
No, the next in chronological order is actually Forgotten Sands.
Oh, well, okay.
I like that one a
Warrior
lot.
Within is a bitch. I can't wait to. I hope you stream Warrior Within.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll think about that. So Forgotten Sands is next, but Sands of Time is down. The next game I beat. Holy shit! Did this game miss my fucking radar? Brotato on Game Pass, developed by the same guy who did what is the roguelike where you're in the basement from your
Binding
creepy
of Isaac?
mom? And thank you, Binding of Isaac. I believe it's the same guy that does Binding of Isaac. Anyway, Brotato is the concept of Mr. Potato Head meets a bullet hell, very similar to Vampire Survivor. Okay, when you play the game, this is how you play the game. There are no buttons that you press. You just move your character around, and your character will automatically attack at whatever they can based on the range of their weapon. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Every time you finish that level, you now have a set amount of money, and you can buy upgrades. This is not uncommon for a wave-like horde game like this. But what makes this so interesting is you can have up to 6 weapons. So you can have a handgun, a flamethrower, a sword, an axe, a wrench that makes turrets. Like, you can do all this crazy shit. And then as you're leveling up in this game, you can add to attack speed or crit chance or movement speed or armor or life steal. And you can then you can buy items that sacrifice one thing for another. So you'll say one thing, hey, this gives you a 5% crit chance, but you lose 2 armor. You're like, well, actually, I have a decent amount of armor right now. Let me go ahead and do this. Bro, I lost an entire evening and a half in this game. I could not stop playing it. I was completely fucking hooked. And then the aspect of it that I didn't even goddamn mention yet, there are like 40 playable classes, and they all have their own little perk. So there's one that can equip up to 12 weapons. But every weapon you hold, your damage percentage goes down. So you have to find a way to maximize all these crazy ass weapons. There's another that's called the Engineer, where all of the turrets do extra damage. You spawn more turrets. So if you can level up more turrets, you could just be like the guy from Overwatch, where you just have a million turrets everywhere. I tried to beat this game with 15, 20 different classes, and the one that finally did it was Brawler. Full hand-to-hand, all fists and kicks and punches, and nobody could get near me. My attack speed was so high, and my knockback was so high that I could literally just walk through a wave of enemies, and my guy would just and just push everything
so
away.
You had a potato masher.
I did, but the thing I didn't even mention, the items that you buy are then added to your character. So your character gets crazier and crazier looking as you go through the game. And it'll be like, oh, this one increases your accuracy. And they're like, oh, now my guy has sunglasses. That's cool. And then the next level is like, oh, it's movement speed. Now he has fucking bat wings and sunglasses. By the end of the game, you've got like a fucking green mohawk and you're wearing a lumberjack shirt. And dude, there's this. I really, really enjoyed this game.
Although visually similar, the person who developed the game, Thomas, I'm gonna butcher his last name, Gerard.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with any other games you've ever heard of.
Wow.
Brotato,
Okay.
Space Gladiators, Lost Potato, and Potato Tactics.
He likes potatoes.
Well, Brotato's awesome. I fucking loved it.
He has to be from Northern Europe.
I felt that it improved on Vampire Survivor in a lot of ways, and I know that's probably a really hot take,
I just like potatoes, so I'm in on.
I love potatoes.
In on the potato.
It's on Game Pass. Y'all should install it. You'll probably, similar to my experience, about 3-4 hours in, finally find the right build and class to
potato masher
kill the final.
That's it. I know what to do now.
I love mashed
spoilers.
Potatoes.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, game was awesome. Moving on, Remnant from the Ashes, done. I thought it was just as strong as the second one. Honestly, it did what graphically doesn't hold up as well. There's definitely a lot more polish on the sequel. You can tell that gearbox money was flowing a little better on Remnant 2, so it's got a little bit more spit shine on it. But dude, I am officially a stan for this series now. I'll play anything that they release. I beat Remnant from the Ashes, and then I beat the 2 DLCs, the Swamps of Corsus and Subject 2329. Dude, Swamps of Corsus was fucking so dope. You meet this character who's like a literal god, and he's like, I'm going to send you into this zone, and there's these really crazy primal monsters there, and there's one that they hold higher than all. I want you to bring me that beast's heart. And it's just so metal, working your way through the swamps, trying to figure out their leader. And this game is just metal as fuck. The bosses are awesome. The guns are awesome. I've become a huge fan of the series, and I think it's actually, I finally have a games as a service that I actually want to go back to. I've fired up Remnant 1 and 2 several times over the course of the last week just to pop in and just play it for 10 minutes. It's still a lot of fun to play. So I've now played it all except for, I think there's DLC for the second one I haven't touched. But otherwise, I've blasted through all of the content. Next, Strayed Lights. This is a game that I got on a Humble Bundle. I'd never heard of it. I watched the little trailer and was like, oh, this looks like a fun little game. What's the time to beat? Time to beat was like 3 hours, 4 hours. Like, perfect. It's like watching a movie or two. Let's try it. Strayed Light is it was on a bundle that was described as Souls-likes, but I don't really think this is a Souls-like. However, it's an interesting concept. You're this little elemental that can be either orange or blue, and that all of the enemies that you fight can be either orange or blue. And what you are clearing is the corruption. And the corruption is purple. It's the mixing of the two colors. There's no balance. They have to be one or they have to be the other. The entire time that you play this game, you can hit the left bumper and you will change to the other color, and you can hit right bumper to parry.
Oh, it's like Flipwitch.
You can
change.
You can play this entire game without attacking if you want. You could play through this entire game just parrying, because all you're doing is you're building up a bar at the bottom, and once that bar goes up, you hit both triggers and your character explodes with energy and your enemy is now defeated. But the way that this works is, to parry, you have to be the same color as the attack. So they're blue, they're coming in for a switch, you got to switch to blue and parry it. And this, of course, goes into the point where you get harder at villains with different timing, and they're changing colors between the attacks. And it was a fun little game, man. I mean, I am only going to give it a 6.5, but considering you probably scoop it on a Steam sale for like $5, I enjoyed it for an evening. It's a fun game.
You made that one sound awesome,
What?
and then 6.5.
I was gonna say that.
He's like,
This game was
let
great.
me,
It was
let
so
me
fun.
take
Blah,
up
blah, blah,
6
blah, blah.
minutes of your time
6.5.
to tell you how much fun I had with this game, and then dog it in the score. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, it's just because it was so short. There wasn't really a lot to dig into with the story,
that's
but
fine.
I mean, it was a fun little
That's fine.
game.
It doesn't have to be long.
Yeah.
Size isn't everything, my dude.
Size don't matter.
It does.
Yeah.
Actually.
No, it was a fun little game. It was a fun little game. And then lastly, just Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I'm enjoying it a lot more on PC. I only had one session with it, but mouse and keyboard seemed to be the trick. The part that I was getting frustrated with, as soon as I had the mouse in my hand, they were all toast.
You're bad with a controller. Got it.
Fuck you, controller. But yeah, that's it. That's what I played this week.
Fantastic. You
were a busy
you've been
bee.
busy. I just keep playing these giant fucking games. It's like,
I'm doing the
am I going
opposite,
to talk
bro.
about
That's
Final
the reason why
Fantasy VII, the 1997 release, for any amount of time? No. And I did drive our good friend Dread Captain James around in my gigantic, like, city-sized fucking reclaimer, and blew his mind as we just went around munching capital ships, and then I sent him millions of credits after we cashed out. And he had a blast. So, but you can find that up on his YouTube channel if you really want to go see that. It's at Dread Captain James. Guys, it's been great. I'm glad I've got you both here back-to-back weeks. We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode for you to enjoy. Until that time, I am Mike Dawson.
I'm Johnny Paulus.
I am Kim. I have nothing to say, Ponticello.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch y'all on the flip flop.